Let's talk about my boy Howard Stern, because we did a segment recently where Howard had Joe Biden on and did the interview with Biden, and I had some criticism of it. I thought, just like the SmartLess interview, it was a little soft and wasn't a real conversation.
People disagreed with that?
In any single way. Oh, no, people agree with me.
Okay.
And in fact, there's this guy named David Pakman, and he's got a couple million subscribers on YouTube. He's a big Democratic political commentary guy. So Howard likes him because he's always talking about Democratic talking points. And so he saw David Pakman questioning some of these questions that Howard gave him. He's like, this had to come from the White House. Because one of the questions that Howard asked him, and I didn't play a lot of the policy stuff on this show, but one of the questions was, apparently there's this new regulation for the airlines that if they bump your flight, they can't just issue you a credit. They have to give you your money back if you demand that. Now, I know it's life-changing. I can tell by your reaction right now, Andy, you're like blown away. Wait, Biden did that? That's fucking amazing. That's one of the things that Howard talked to Biden about, which David Pakman's on this show going, well, I guess the White House wanted to get that across. People don't really know about that, so they asked Howard to talk about it. But Howard says, oh, no, that is not the case.
He was saying, it was upsetting me, so I'm addressing it now. He was saying when Howard interviewed Joe Biden, he said up front a question to Joe Biden that was clear, like he's speculating. He's not saying for sure, but he goes, there's no way Howard would have asked this or asked about it. It's clear that the White House set him up to do this. It was something set up. And I want to tell you something. It got me thinking. I went, oh, my goodness. I've heard a lot of this from people who say, oh, the White House wouldn't have agreed to do the interview if they hadn't written the questions or this kind of thing. Now, I don't know what anybody's saying, but here's what happened.
All right, what happened?
So when Joe Biden came in, the day before, John Hein and I were talking about some of the accomplishments that we admire that have gone on in the past 4 years. And John says to me, hey, Howard, did you hear what Joe Biden did with the airlines? I go, what'd he do? And he starts explaining to me that now, if the airline for any reason bumps you, the way it always was, you got a credit.
Okay. And he goes on and on to explain what this thing is. Totally a real conversation. I totally believe. So John Hein says to me, hey, Howard, you hear about this airline thing? And I go, I don't know about this airline thing, John. What's that? Oh, well, it's actually pretty amazing, Howard. Listen to this. What he did was, this is how Stuttering John recounts conversations that never happened.
I know.
This is so fucking fake. This doesn't not
prove anything.
Yeah, no, it actually proves just the opposite, because there's no way that this is how John Hein and Howard prepare for a meeting with
Yeah, right.
Joe Biden. It's so stupid.
And it's also, you mention it sometimes too, if it never really happened, it wouldn't bother you and you wouldn't even address this. You'd be like, whatever.
Correct.
Somebody says that I didn't do something that I did, they're wrong, and there's no reason to bring it up. But
yes,
to come onto the show and try and justify it only spotlights the fact that they probably did give you a bunch of questions that they do it all the time.
Great insight. Yes.
All the time.
Yes, correct. Great
Ask these
insight.
questions.
Great insight. You're totally correct on that, because Howard spent so much time on this on his show. You could tell he's trying to, because he's getting a lot of backlash from this interview. So yeah, right. If he was just like, what are you talking about? Of course those are my questions. It's a ridiculous thing, because listen to how he says here.
My whole goal was not to sit there and talk politics. I'm not into that. I don't want to debate policy or what should be going on in the Middle East or what should be going on with Ukraine. There's so many shows doing that.
First off, I have to correct Howard on this. Howard's way into that. He talks about politics all the time and policies and all of this shit all the time. Secondly, he goes, why would I do that? Everyone's doing that. No, Biden does not grant a lot of interviews.
He's not on their show.
He's not going on anyone's show, and when he does do a show, it's just a ball washing fest. So it would have been nice to ask him some questions about Ukraine and how long are we going to fund this fucking war Ukraine's going to lose? How many people are going to die in Ukraine? This seems like a bad strategy. That'd be a good question, right? I don't know. Throwing it out there. But no, Howard's not into politics. He didn't want to ask any political questions. All right, if you say so. So he goes on to talk about how people think Biden had an earpiece in with people speaking in his ear. And, he was wearing, and they're like, oh no, we controlled all of the audio over here.
You got to fucking be kidding me. First of all, we controlled all the audio.
Sure.
There was nobody on.
And you were wearing headphones.
Thanks.
And I was
You
wearing
have to
headphones.
wear headphones.
You have to. On radio, you got to wear headphones. You can't
Dynamite drop it, Robin. Great job.
do a radio show without headphones. And so, anyway, I said, well, my only agenda is I would like to get to know the president because I suspect he's a very meaningful, very thoughtful guy because everything I've read about him is he's overcome a lot of loss. And I'd like to talk about that with him because I believe the president is the father of our country, and I think he's a good father.
So again, it's a little weird that he even addressed that. People say that he probably has someone talking in his ear. No, we control all of the audio over here. I don't know why people are saying that. It's like, well, maybe there's something to it. I don't know. So he says his only agenda was he wanted to get to know the president better. And he's saying there's no coordination with the White House. But the fact that he had to tell the White House what his agenda was tells me there was coordination right there. Mm-hmm. Like that's the definition of, what do you want to talk to Biden about? His policies in Ukraine? No. I just wanted to tell him he's an amazing guy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
See if I can shoehorn therapy in.
Right, yes.
This might be as simple as trying to pull the taffy of this interesting thing happened on the show. So why just leave it to one episode? Why not talk about everything that happened even when after Joe Biden's left all over again? How many times did Stuttering John talk about the prank Trump call?
Right.
After it already happened. He might just be trying to parlay this into more content.
I would have done it a different way. I would have talked behind the scenes stuff.
Well, maybe, yeah. And I mean, it's about as funny as a Stuttering John prank call, too. But,
Yeah, right. Oh, shit.
But yeah, I think maybe he's just like got a shit to talk about. And some people are just like, oh, it was kind of interesting that day.
That's probably true. But no, there were no scripted questions for this. This totally came from John Hein
Bullshit.
and Howard Stern.
Bullshit.
He's a good father figure, and he cares. That was my whole pitch to the White House. They didn't script a question. They didn't have me bring up the airline thing. I was impressed. I was like, well, there's something my audience will like. You know what? Now, if I take a plane and these fuckers cancel my flight, I don't get that bullshit credit. I get my money back.
How often does that happen to people?
How often is it going to happen to Howard?
Never. But I just love this thing where it's just like people can all relate to when their flight gets canceled and then they're not going to take another flight, so they don't want a credit. They just want their money back.
Yeah.
That probably will never. I mean, it happened one time during the pandemic because I was an idiot and thought that we wouldn't shut down the country for a year. And I just fucking booked flights thinking that we could actually move about the country like we're free or something.
I hate airlines. So this is relevant to me, but I can't get past the very idea that a president in an election year is going on a radio show with a guy who has a reputation about kind of doing whatever he wants.
Yep.
Maybe not so much now, but there's a long track record of people getting, submarined by Howard Stern.
Yep.
And the very idea that the president's management, campaign manager, and Secret Service would walk in there without some kind of game plan and lay down the law with Howard Stern and XM as a company. And for you to think that I'm buying what you're selling, saying that didn't happen, is insulting to my intelligence.
It would be dumb.
It's really annoying, Howard. Shut the fuck up.
Well, yeah. No, listen to this.
He said, I'm into doing it, whatever your agenda is.
Bullshit.
Yeah, so exactly what you're talking about. That's not even smart. If Joe Biden said, no, I'll sit down with you for an hour and a half. I don't care what we talk about, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even a smart way to go about it.
Yeah.
You obviously want to know what we're going to be talking about, what the tone of the interview is going to be.
He must be very thoughtful because he's certainly not verbal. I'm going to get to the bottom of this about the airlines. All right.
Yeah, so Andy, you're saying all the things that I was writing down in my notes.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're picking up on this as well, because how could you possibly think there weren't any parameters? Things could go off the rails so quickly, and for a guy like Joe Biden, a soundbite gets out, and it could end his campaign.
Right.
It's an election year, for
The
God's
wrong
sake.
soundbite could fuck everything up.
Controlling everything.
Right, so you're sitting there with Howard Stern. You have to make sure that that's not going to happen.
If he walked in with no prep, he doesn't get my vote.
Yeah, right.
I was really, quite frankly, envious of the closeness and the support that he got in his life. And I really wanted to portray that. But most importantly, I wanted to say to the audience, whoever was listening, here's a guy who can answer questions and speak. He's not a guy who's got one foot in the grave who can't answer a question. And I also wanted to see the emotional connection.
Okay, so that's very telling right there. And it actually goes back to the SmartLess interview. You have these celebrities who hate Trump, are all about the Democratic Party, and their goal is to prove that Biden isn't a complete doddering fool.
Yeah.
Like you, he just said it right there. He's like, no, I just wanted to prove that the guy could have a conversation and he wouldn't just sound like a complete moron the entire time. Like, how low is the bar to be the president of the United States?
Yeah, how sad is it that that's something that needs to be illustrated to the general public?
No
It's like,
shit.
hey, look, this guy can actually put two words together in an interview, so much so that we have to do it on multiple shows.
Right.
And Howard needs to be that conduit to make it happen.
Yeah,
And so does Jason Bateman and Will Arnett.
Yeah. And there's probably going to be a few more podcasts.
I'm sure there will be.
He's going to make appearances. Like I said, he's on his bus tour.
It's fucking insane.
Yes, he's old. Of course he's old. We know he's old.
We do know he's old, yes.
But the guy sounded so connected on that interview. It's so emotional, so human,
What?
that I wanted that to come across. That was it. That was the agenda. That's the only prearranged sort of conversation I had with the White House.
Yeah, if they were scripting the questions, wouldn't that have been a lot different?
Oh, yeah. But as far as this statement about the airline,
So I'm glad that Howard moved away from that because, again, Robin's not helping.
No.
Robin's never on the same page.
No.
She goes, yeah, if they had scripted it, would have been a lot different. Howard goes, oh, yeah. How?
Yeah.
How would it have been different? There wasn't a single hard question asked in this. If Howard sent that to them for approval, they're like, we were writing our own, but no, this is fine. Yeah, do that. That's fine.
Yeah, the trickiest question was trying to get Joe to remember something.
Yeah, and he made up a fucking story anyway,
Right.
so none of it mattered. So I just thought that I'd love to know one example, Howard, of a question that you asked that if they had known ahead of time, they definitely would have said no to that.
Yeah.
There's not a single fucking example. It's so vanilla.
Yeah, there should
so
be
lame.
one. Like
Yes.
if Fred and Jackie were involved, wouldn't there be some kind of like funny question about Hunter Biden or
Yeah.
it was-
Or Jill's tits or something.
something.
How saggy are they?
Yeah.
How hard is the bra working these
Give me
days?
the
Some kind of
one
question.
That's the trick, though, isn't it? You always have one question that they're saying, "Oh no, and then you slip the rest in.
Correct. Yeah, you know
So
that's
there's
going to
got to
get.
be one question on the cutting room floor.
No, there isn't.
Well,
because
that's how you know it's
they're all in. It's yes, correct.
how you know it's a line of bullshit.
And so Howard's talking about how before the interview started, they were just having a conversation with each other before he hit go live.
the president and I had this beautiful conversation about grandchildren beforehand that I wish had been on because it was such an emotional conversation. But, that's it. Hey, that's it.
You were having an emotional conversation about his grandchildren. Did he acknowledge the other one in that conversation? No wonder he didn't want that on the air because there's actually a lot of controversy over Hunter's illegitimate kid that Joe Biden wouldn't acknowledge for years. And now finally with the paternity test, everything, he now has to say how many grandkids he has.
The emotional conversation was over not being able to ask that question.
Yeah, right. That might have been the one that was just like, yeah, now that would have been interesting. But no, that's the one that didn't happen. So Howard addresses all that. Then they bring in Alex Jones. Now, I love Alex Jones on the Howard Stern show. It's one of the best characters on there. And of course, this is their way of showing that, yeah, if you think that there was something crazy about this interview, you're a nut job. You have to be a right-wing extremist to think that there was an earpiece in his ear or that he knew what the questions were going to be or that the White House had something to do with the parameters around the questioning. And so they make it ridiculous.
Hold on. Oh, my God. It's right-wing commentator Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist. Yes, Alex.
Infowars.com. Howard, do not listen to the haters. Do not listen to Pac-Man. I want to come here. I want to congratulate you. Your interview with Hologram Biden was fantastic. I mean, I don't know who was controlling him, Klaus Schwab. I don't know if it was Bill Gates in the other room. You could barely tell that there was a joystick controlling him, that it was controlled from another room. And the lips looked fantastic. So beautiful, fabulous job, Howard.
All right, so Alex Jones is a very funny character on the Stern Show. Back when I listened to the show, I always loved when he came on. It's a great impression, very funny bits and stuff like that. But you can see what they're doing right there. You know, you bring in the Alex Jones, you're just like, oh, it's a hologram.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, what are these stupid right-wingers thinking?
Right. You get really absurd.
Yes.
You take it to an absurd degree. And
Right.
then the less believable stuff seems forgettable.
Yeah, it's good deflection.
So back to your point about, well, they had Biden on. That was a big deal. They want to keep talking about it, keep milking this content. I don't think that's the case. I think that they're in damage control because after the commercial break, now Gary Delabate gets in on this conversation.
By the way, I was talking to Gary during the commercials, and Gary dealt with the White House on the Biden interview, and he said to me, I was going to interrupt, but I didn't want to. I didn't know if I should. But tell everyone what you told me. Just let's go on record.
The White House gave us 0 parameters. It's probably the biggest question I've been asked about this interview. Well, what did they say you could and couldn't talk about? The answer was nothing. At no point did anybody say, don't bring this up, don't bring that up, which, of course, he's the president. He's got to be ready to answer any question.
No. So that makes it even worse. If the White House gave you 0 parameters and that was your interview, then you failed fucking miserably.
Yeah.
Good point.
Right? Like, that's the worst thing you can say is that, no, we were allowed to say anything we wanted. And that's what you said?
What has Howard become where he has to defend himself so much?
Yeah. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, that's what I hate the most about this.
Yeah. That he's getting on and going, no, guys, for real. Don't listen to Pac-Man or any of these guys on the internet who are saying,
What would the consequence be if we didn't believe you? Who gives a fuck? Do another show. Make it funny.
well, I think it hurts his ego.
Well,
Howard's a big-
obviously. Yeah.
Howard's a big ego guy.
Yeah.
And so,
And also, he wants to be the greatest interviewer.
correct.
Didn't
Yes,
that
that's his
all
legacy.
go out the window when he sequestered himself into a house hundreds of thousands of miles away from where he should be at work? Now he refuses to leave his house.
How many,
and he's a
how many
fucking
miles away?
hundreds of thousands. I don't know, whatever. 1 billion.
He went to Mars.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
You're like,
No, he's
your
lost all
credibility is out the window with this guy.
He doesn't know that, though. He doesn't know that he's worse than Imus
Yeah.
was when he was goofing on Imus.
Yep.
He's worse
Yeah.
in every way. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So one more clip. This is more of Gary damage control going on.
I don't know what to tell people. I don't know where they. I think they think he gets carried in like a baby, like he's Ariana Grande. We walked
Or
in and we were having a
maybe
nice.
he is on controls and they work him with joysticks.
Yeah.
Howard,
That's
somebody-
Spider Man.
Fuck, Robin.
Somebody
I'm
sug-
telling you, what is he? Ariana Grande?
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande?
Ariana Grande.
Right. What, Gary?
No, the suggestion that was made to me, which I couldn't believe because it's something I never thought of, was that 6 people walk very close to him, right around, so that if he falls, they can catch him. I was like, yeah, that didn't happen. I don't know what to tell you. That just didn't happen.
Oh, well,
So again, like making up this straw man argument where it's like, yeah, they were saying they were carrying Biden in. It's like, we've all seen Biden walk.
Yeah.
We see him walk up on stage and trip over sandbags and fall on his face off a bicycle. Like, we know he can move a little bit.
Yeah.
Walking up the stairs. To the
So
He's good at falling.
somebody handing me a list of questions and saying, these are the questions for the interview. He won't answer any other questions except these because it's an election year is just as absurd as somebody carrying him in like Ariana Grande.
You're right. I know,
Like,
right.
it's
They're
not
totally
the-
changing the argument of what it is. So a lot of damage control. So I went to check out David Pakman's response to this. Let's see what he has to say because there's mutual admiration going on.
The other day, I did a sort of review of Howard Stern's interview of President Joe Biden, which was, I thought, excellent, and it really portrayed Biden in a very positive light. 75 minutes with Howard talking about all sorts of different things. He clearly knows what day it is. He knows what time it is. He knows he's the president, really kind of just pushing back against all these false notions that you're hearing from right-wingers.
Wow, when I said we're setting the bar low, I didn't even realize we're setting it this low. He knows what day it is, what time it is, and that he's the president. Yeah, I assumed all of those things. Why are you even introducing that?
Okay, he gets my vote.
Yeah, right.
Great start to an interview too. I did an episode yesterday where I did a great job. Like, everybody, this is me in that interview.
So look at his conclusion after hearing what I just played for you from Howard.
money back.
True.
So the Biden administration passed a law that the airlines have to refund you your money. And John was explaining this to me. And I said, you know what? I bet a lot of people don't know about that. I didn't know about it.
So I stand corrected.
What a douche. Howard goes, that's not true. They didn't give us that question. John Hein came up with that. I stand corrected. I believe Howard completely now. What a douche. I don't know
That's
how
Robin now.
I don't know how you come to that conclusion. Have you not seen Robin in a little while?
Oh, she looks like the fucking female gremlin in Gremlins 2 now.
Oh boy, Andy, I can't wait for your apology. Yeah. after
Why?
that
After
one.
what?
Oh boy. Oh boy.